Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Victor Matthias. With barely 3 weeks to the 2015 presidential elections, the polity is still reeling with debates on the functionality of card readers after the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) conducted a mock election to test the device. That apart, the chairman of the commission has also been in the eye of the storm as rumors of his removal from office has been making the rounds in Nigeria's political space. On Channels Beam today, we will be looking at these issues and how it affects the Nigerian political space. But just before we do that, let's take a look at the trending topics in the past week. Africa Magic viewers had their say as they voted for the actors that graced the movie screens best in the year under review. Women got all the love as the world celebrated the International Women's Day. Text messages, tweets, seminars, and many other programs were exchanged to celebrate the women folk. Well, trust me, when the women are involved, we have to give them our all. But back to the business of the day. Let's meet our online contributors, but you can also be part of the discussion by tweeting your thoughts using the hashtag 2015elections.
The people clamoring for Jega's terminal leave to be evoked are basking on the euphoria of the successes recorded when Maurice Hiru was unceremoniously hissed out. That said, what they are not telling Nigerians is that there is a proviso attached to that leave clause you have in Jega's case, which says that if the occupier of that office doesn't want to go on leave, he or she reserves the right to apply for a terminal leave. You cannot evoke that leave except the occupier of the office chooses to. And again, it reminds us of a set of people who are desperate to hold on to power by every and any means possible. So for me, I think it's a no issue. I think it doesn't arise. I think it's uncalled for. I also think that it would be wrong for anybody at this stage to argue that Jega, who has all along been in charge of the preparations for the elections, shouldn't supervise the process he has almost seen to the end. So I think it will cause a lot of confusion.
This is one opportunity Nigerians have to change their situation. Jega has proved himself to be somebody with integrity, and he has been tested in 2011. INEC, under the leadership of Jega, is in even a more better space right now in 2015, especially with this card reader technology. And so I would advise every Nigerian to go collect their PVCs and vote in or out who they want in peace. I think that the PDP, with all sense of modesty and all sense of responsibility, is trying their best to break the opposition, to break the strong opposition they know that they have. You would ask the question at this point in time that why are all these things happening when we have this 6 weeks extension to elections? So now that they are signing up a new party, if elections were to hold on the 14th of February as earlier scheduled, what would have happened? What would have become of this? What would have happened to this new party that they are now signing up? So before the 14th of January of February, we all thought the election was going to hold, and Jega had given his word of how INEC was prepared for elections. All of a sudden, the government came with their strategy, and then election had to be shifted. Elections had to be shifted for the reasons of insecurity, primarily, and then secondarily for distributions of PVCs. In that period when election was shifted, we can now see the court coming into play and trying to make the electoral process only more strenuous. So I think that, to cut a long story short, that the government is trying to break the opposition
PDP doesn't just have an axe to grind with Jega, it has an axe to grind with an average Nigerian who wants to see meaningful change on the streets and in their lives. So, but for the people who are in this party, for them it's a business, and again you cannot, I mean, they cannot watch the business they have held on to for 16 years crumble like a pack of cards. So it's a party fighting for its life. And again, I wouldn't blame them if they seem so desperate like we have seen over the last couple of months since this started. PDP would do anything, and the leadership of that party, and indeed others who make up that party, will do everything humanly possible to retain power on May 29th. So if they see you and I as an obstacle to the retention of that power, we can be disposed of. And so that's what you're seeing happening. It's a party that has had the opportunity to change the lives of Nigerians for 16 years, and consistently, almost on a daily basis, has failed to do that. And it's time for examination now. Nigerians are complaining, and Nigerians are wanting to see a change of government. The slogan itself isn't about Ibuari Imagine. The slogan for me is anybody but Jonathan, and Jonathan signifies the symbol of that party.
Okay, let me put it straight. If it cannot be cleared legally that Jega could be made to proceed on compulsory terminal leave, and somebody somewhere in this government, which may actually not be Mr. President because he has been speaking and he has been coming out playing and all that, but we cannot trust everybody in this government. Maybe some people with interest, they just play this game and they ended up easing Mr. President out. There is no way you'll be able to argue all of these things and tell anybody that this good president doesn't know about it. And do you know what is going to happen? Then the House can just take advantage of that. They crossed their own constitutional boundaries of not involving them as to having to third of the House before sacking Jega through the back door. That is how they could interpret it, and that has been my fear.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jega bows to pressure as it did in the build up to the postponement of the February 14th elections. But I do not think, and I also think so strongly, I do not think the registration of the YDN would affect the dates. I also think that Jega and his INEC will appeal that court judgment, particularly the verdict or the judgment which stipulates that the party should be registered for the elections. That will again be an affront on the 2011 Electoral Act. That said, that's a gimmick that failed or that has failed and that wouldn't work vis-a-vis the possible postponement of the election. That said, let's move on to the prospect or the possibility of impeaching Mr. President. I don't think that the two houses, as presently constituted, without due sense of responsibility and modesty, I think they do lack the balls to carry out such initiatives. A responsible parliament, I mark my words, a responsible parliament would have impeached this president a long time ago when they had genuine opportunities and genuine reasons to. That they have failed to do that tells you that both the parliament and its membership, both arms, House of Rep, the Senate, a group of people who at the very best are there to serve their interests first at the expense of all Nigerians.
I would like to say that the card reader, I think, is the best thing that will happen to Nigeria's electoral process. Having said that, I'm not sure of the reason why exactly the same card readers will take 7 seconds in some states, and in some other areas they will take up to 1 minute. I would like to suspect that what happens, what is happening has to do with the network, because I heard when Jega was demonstrating the use of the card readers before the Senate, I heard him saying we are going to make use of the mobile phone network. So I would like to think that it has something to do with networks and, of course, how congested networks are. I would, at this point, before I proceed, suggest that the various networks that are going to be used, I'm not sure of which ones are used now or are going to be used for the elections, but that the various networks that are going to be used for the elections be incorporated into the logistics processes or the technical processes of INEC, so that they know that in such and such areas, networks are should be boosted, at least for that day. whatever they have to do to keep those machines working properly, I think that those things should be done so that we don't have any hitch or any hitches that do.
In fact, I want to believe that that is one of the reasons why Jega seems to be having more trouble. The card reader appears to be one of the reasons why he's having troubles. And if he can just probably cancel the card reader by tonight, that forget you're not going to use it, I want to tell you that his adversaries and adversities would reduce by 50% all overnight. But I think we have actually outgrown we have outgrown that. We should not come to the point of debating whether we should use a card reader, we should not use a card reader in 2015.
INEC can only make cards available. That institution doesn't have the prerogative or the capacity to force people to get their cards. It's solely at the discretion of the owner of such card to go for it. The best INEC can do as an institution, my own understanding, is what it's done vis-a-vis its enlightenment, and it's giving people the opportunity to go collect their cards. And also think that the Lagos state government and all state governments in actual fact gave their workers 1 2 day off to go put their cards. And that for me is commendable. So if people haven't collected their cards, well, it's their choice. And I think it again tells you that Nigerians are dissatisfied with this system. There's so much apathy in the land. That could also be an explanation. Then the demographics might also have changed. It's very, very possible that so many persons have moved from where they registered the last time and they now reside in somewhere else. Again, it's possible that a number of people might have died. So there are so many explanations that could be accountable for that. What is important for me is have we been able to at least surpass the minimum standard for election, which I think the INEC as an institution and Nigerians as a people have been able to do. So if you have 70-75% collection rate across board, I think elections can go on.
To a large extent, is ready. Jega has said by himself that if Nigerians or if the government thinks that he did well in 2011, that now he's even more prepared. And so I would like to take him for his words and know that INEC is ready. About the number of people who have received their PVCs, I think that is a very difficult thing to judge by, because it is one thing for the cards to be provided and it is just another thing for people to go and collect them. Unfortunately, we are in a system where INEC cannot go door by door knocking on people's doors to give their cards to them. They are located at a particular spot and these people have to make an effort to come and collect them. A lot of people are not interested in the elections, and this is understandably so, because they probably do not have I mean, they think the system is not credible. So whether we go by 70%, 75%, 65%, 60%, I think is a debate for another day. But the most important thing for me is that INEC makes the cards ready and keeps the cards that ready for a particular period of time.
Well, there you go, salient points raised by our contributors on the Google Plus Hangout, but we'll go on a break and get more analysis afterwards. Don't go away.